Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, yeah. My usual conundrum, where to begin. How you doing? I'll begin with a good morning to you. It's April 27. I keep thinking it's later. I don't know why. And shaping up to be a pretty beautiful day here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, I haven't mentioned the Pirates. I just want to say this. I mean, they're winning. They're winning. I tuned in to the game last night, and my God, they were just humiliating the Dodgers. I think the final was 8-1. That queasy feeling you used to get when you thought of checking up on them, that's dissipated markedly. They're looking like a really not a joke. I don't want to overstate things. They are looking like not a joke for the first time in a long time. And I just want to say that if you are a fan, you can, or sometime fan, a fair weather fan, the weather's fair. You can crawl out from whatever, bunker you were in and take a look. Looking good. Just saying. Okay. I hate to do this to you, but I want to start with some Tucker Carlson things because, the way media work is if there's a big story, especially one like the firing of this hotshot, the face, the voice, the generator at Fox News, which was so startling, the reporting on it, goes on for a long time as people try to parse reasons, what happened, what happens next, all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure you, like me, have been seeing a lot of stuff, a bunch of it speculative. But the one piece of speculation that scares the jeebers out of me, and I brought it up, I guess the first time I spoke at all about this incredible event, is the frightening idea that he could run for the Republican nomination for president. And to me, that seems like such a, he could beat. He's the only person I can think of that could beat Donald Trump. If Republicans are looking to get rid of Donald Trump, I've got news for them. Ron DeSantis ain't going to do it. The more we get to see Ron, the more we know. Not ready. The joke. But Tucker's got all the same skill set as Trump. They are made of the same cloth. And if you realize how much that Republican base has been getting its marching orders from Fox News and Tucker Carlson, you realize how easily he could, if he wanted to, step into this role. I know some people have said he could be, imagine the ticket Trump Carlson. Well, I don't see that happening because these two egos are not going to, you either go after him, you don't team up with him, or you go after him. Now, because I haven't seen a lot of people giving this much thought, but it's just won't let go of my head. It's such a great fear. And then I finally saw somebody who's as scared as I am. So I just want to share some of his thinking with you. And I find that in these times, the people I like listening to, and I'm often surprised to find out, were once Republicans. Sometimes I'll have found someone, and I think I mentioned Tom Nichols, who writes for the Atlantic, I think, is my new go-to guy. Well, I didn't know he was a Republican. Nicole Wallace on MSNBC, very much a Republican. And I have to admit, I watched her a few times and really got hooked because she's so smart. She's got me back watching cable, but just her. I'm really into her. So and then there's a guy named, Steve Schmidt and Rick Wilson. These are the these are major Republican operatives who now are every bit as appalled, by what's happened to that party, and are as certain as am I that it is a fascist party now. And I just find often their take on things to be so right on the money. Anyway, this piece is Rick Wilson. And he says, excuse me. Oh, what's wrong with me here? He was one of the founders of the anti-Trump group, the Lincoln Project. Okay, I think along with Steve Schmidt. But he says the most irresponsible thing you can do these days is look away from the worst case scenario. Now, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And his worst case scenario is a successful Tucker Carlson campaign for the Republican presidential nomination. He says Carlson is one of the very small number of political celebrities in this country, and God knows celebrity in this country is the coin of the realm. So he's got that. He's got the name recognition. He's got real coin. He's got personal wealth. He's a little rich kid who's added to the family wealth. And then, like Trump, and this is how Wilson puts it, he is a transgressive bad boy. And that's what Trump voters like about Trump, right? The transgressive bad boy. Well, here's Tucker. He's younger. He's more articulate. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he's got in mind. And then Wilson points out something else, and now he's a martyr. And Republicans like nothing more than a martyr. So, who knows? Now, Tucker, excuse me. And Wilson thinks he's the one person who can knock Trump out in the primary. I agree. I absolutely agree, without a doubt. So Tucker's finally been heard from. Have you heard this? Let me find it for you. I guess he put this, this was a video he posted on Twitter. I did not see it. And here's some of what Tucker has said. These are the only words we have from him since his firing. You know, one thing you notice when you take a little time off, like he took time off Yeah. Okay, I'll shut up and just say it. Time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to do this without like reacting to every sentence he says. I'll try not to. Okay. So here's Tucker Carlson complaining that now that he's not on television and he can like watch, he's noticed that the debates are, what's he call them? Unbelievably stupid. Okay. He goes on. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me. Okay, stop, Colin. Stop it. Trust me. As someone who has participated. And then at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? All right. I won't. I'll stop. It's been a long time, says Tucker. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Well, I mean, I do have to intrude here. Well, he's still incapable of telling the truth. That's obvious. Because debates like that are permitted in American media and are held quite often. I don't know about you, but on this program, we've talked about all of these issues: civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change. What the hell is he even talking about? And then he says this. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue. And so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Remember, this is coming from Tucker Carlson, post-firing. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. That's Tucker speaking to, I find that exceedingly sinister. I don't know about you, but then I see him as exceedingly sinister. Just saying. Wow. Wow. So he might be off the air. But he'll be back. And in what guise? In what, I don't know. God help us. Just a few other little things on him, and then let's let it go for now. By the way, in regard to the power of cable, oh man, my car mechanic's trying to call me. Oh geez. I don't suppose I could take this call, could I? No, I guess not. Brian Stelter, who also has, been fired recently by the new folks at Fox, he focuses on media and has a very intelligent perspective on media, as you know, I'm sure. He has a piece in the New York Times today, and he says, here's what you have to understand about Carlson and Fox News and Lemon and CNN News. None of these, even Carlson, is less powerful than the network, and that we don't know what Tucker's going to do next or Lemon's going to do next, but we do know that Fox and CNN will prevail. And he explains thusly. He says, the people who tuned in to Tucker Carlson's show at 8:00 every night, they were just a subset of his total audience. And it was a big, for cable news, it was the highest group. It was like, 2.5 million people would tune in. But Stelter says this, when you count all the people who saw him on a TV at a bar or in an airport, and all the people who watched a clip on the internet or heard radio talk show hosts quoting him, he had a monthly audience of tens of millions. Then he says, multiply that kind of reach by the dozens of other hosts on the network, and then you can start to see the true influence of Rupert Murdoch's media empire. He points out that Nielsen, when it does its ratings, has a metric that you don't often hear quoted. But the metric is called cumulative viewership. It's the one I like to note when people say to me, oh, you got only what? You had, 120 people listening to? No, that's listening maybe live on one day on one platform. Cumulatively, I have a much larger audience than it appears. So does Tucker Carlson, or did. So do all of the hosts on Fox. But all of that means that in terms of Fox's reach, if you look at that cumulative number, Fox attracted more than 63 million viewers during the first 3 months of this year. That is no small number. 63 million people. Fox doesn't like doing that number. You would think they would. You know why they don't like doing it? Guess what? CNN's cumulative is higher. You're always hearing Fox. In terms of cumulative average, CNN in the first 3 months of this year is at 68 million. Fox, 63. So, just saying. Stelter's point is it's the networks, not the stars, that ultimately have the power, that control what Americans see and perceive as news. By the way, I look up, because Milton, one of our audience members, sent me the entire segment of John why am I? Oh God, I hate that. Jon Stewart. God, it's so horrible when those words disappear. Names. When Jon Stewart took on Tucker Carlson and Paul Begala on CNN on Crossfire, which turned out to be one of the last. He killed the show. The show was yanked, very soon after Tucker was out of work. If you want to watch the whole thing, it is brutal. And Jon Stewart was not there to be liked. And it was so clear that Carlson was just hating his guts during this. If you had just it could have, turned into if Tucker had his way, I think it would have turned into a brawl. But check it out. I mean, Jon Stewart on Crossfire. Find it and enjoy it. It's an incredible. Boy, you talk about a person, I said this before, who I'd like. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I'd like him to be president. Ain't going to happen, but that's a good guy. Okay, so there's that. And then there's one more thing. Seth Meyers last night, his show, had this to say, and then I'll get off it. I have no idea why he got fired. Fox had no problem with his cruelty, racism, and paranoid conspiracy theories, so I doubt he got fired for that. I mean, firing Tucker for racism now, after tolerating it for so long, would be like canceling Sesame Street because you found out they were puppets. He was saying, how strange that all of a sudden the Murdochs are apparently outraged by Tucker. What they were outraged about is seeing the contempt in which he held them. They didn't give a damn about what he was doing to the minds of millions of Americans or to American democracy. But when he trained his sharp tongue on them, that was a bridge too far. Let's see if there's anything else. No, I guess that's it. Yeah. Okay. Why did I say that? I don't know. So it's not often that a former president is on trial, essentially for rape, but that's happening. And it shows how... It says something about, right, the times we're living in, that my show's almost half over and I haven't even mentioned it. The man who would be the Republican nominee for president yet again is essentially on trial for rape right now, at this very moment, in New York. Can't make it up. And the other thing you can't make up, well, this goes without saying, is that the judge in this case has already told Trump's lawyer in no uncertain terms, hey, you better talk to your client and shut him up. Because Trump, who is, not being fit to attend his own trial or to muster a defense on his own behalf, of course, started doing social media on it. So while his trial is underway, instead of being in the courtroom, he's putting out there on Truth Social. What did he say exactly? Something about it's a hoax, made up scam, fraudulent and false, all this kind of stuff. And the judge is made aware of this, and he tells Trump's lawyer, hey, rein this guy in. These statements are entirely inappropriate. And Pacapina, I think that's how he pronounces it, this Trump's lawyer, said, yes, Your Honor, I will speak to my client. And whether he did or not, I don't know, but within a matter of minutes, Eric Trump had piled on with more claims. And then when the judge heard about that, he got really annoyed and said to Trump's attorney, remedies that might be available from this court may not be the only relevant memories. If I were in your shoes, I'd be having a conversation with the client. Now, what he meant, according to someone who knows the law, is that there is a federal obstruction statute that outlaws any effort to corruptly influence or intimidate a juror, whether criminal or civil trial, doesn't matter. So the fact that Trump and the Sun are throwing this crap out there when the jury's not sequestered. They are protected by their anonymity, but they aren't sequestered. So, oh God. And Jean Carroll's account of her rape reads so, I'm sure for some people, it's hard to imagine this when she tells the story. She talks about bumping into Trump, how he recognizes her. Hey, you're that advice lady, because she had a column. He knew who she was. And he said, hey, help me pick something out here. So she was just thrilled. I mean, he was a big media, he was Donald Trump. And I mean, they were both young. And she's thinking, this is fantastic. I got to see where this thing's going. So she went along. She was having the time of her life. And she acknowledged on the stand that they both were flirting, having fun. I understand that, don't you? They were just having fun with each other. And then when he managed to get her into a dressing room, that's where, and I understand this too, where she can't believe she went in that dressing room. And the minute she did, he shut the door. And she said, I was extremely confused and suddenly realizing that what I thought was happening was not happening. She thought they were just having fun. He was intent on rape. And he wasted no time. And then the other thing she says is, I didn't want to make a scene, which is why she didn't scream. And I have to tell you, if you think that sounds like, what? You're being raped and you don't scream? I have to tell you, as a woman of a certain age, about her age, yeah, I can see that. You're in fucking Bergdorf Goodman's with Donald Trump and he's raping you, and you're thinking, oh my God, he's fighting him off. He finally places her knee where it needs to be and gets away. But you can see from the minute she left in a state of absolute shock that she blamed herself totally. Why would I have gone into that? What was I thinking? She didn't blame herself for not screaming. She blamed herself for, how did he maneuver me into that dressing room? Because in her head, they were just playing. And then they weren't. Well, I don't know. I don't know how this will play with a jury, but her account reads so true to me. And something else I didn't realize is she's had an interesting professional life. She was a writer at Saturday Night Live, which must mean she's funny. Or not. So, and then one of the last things she said, she's under cross-examination now, and God help her. She's in for a rough day. But she said this on the stand: I am a happy person, basically, but I'm aware that I've lost out on one of the glorious experiences of any human being. Because she said after that rape, she could never, that was it. She couldn't trust a man. That was it. Her sex life was over. Her ability to be intimate was over. She said, I missed out on one of the most glorious experiences of any human being, being in love with somebody else, making dinner with them, walking the dog together. I don't have that. Well, fact is, I don't have that either, but I don't have that, and I wasn't raped by Donald Trump, so I'm a lot luckier than E. Jean Carroll. J.H. So yesterday, I brought you news about a speakeasy in Homestead being raided by the state police, or I don't know what. And I was so freaked that the speakeasies exist. I thought that was, a remnant of prohibition, but it is. And so I got this really informative, I loved it, email from Kurt. I want to thank for it. And he says this: Pennsylvania liquor laws are weird. Well, that's weird is one word for it. He goes on. A license is required to sell liquor, but there's nothing illegal about giving it away for free. If you've been in Pittsburgh long enough to remember Sarah's East European restaurant on the South Side, I was there once. They had an honor bar where drinks were free, but a donation to their provision was encouraged. So they didn't have a liquor license. They gave you the liquor to circumvent, to still be legal. And then he goes on to say, also, BYOB, bring your own, is an easy and legal way for restaurants and other establishments to circumvent the need for a liquor license. And they often make a few bucks with a corkage fee, right? Similarly, any selling requires an exchange of currency. This is something I did not realize what he's about to tell us. Selling requires an exchange of currency. I'm sure you've been to events where the organizers skirt the liquor laws by selling tickets. They're not selling liquor. You go to a fundraising event or some nonprofit event, you buy tickets, which you then take to the bar. And with the tickets, get liquor. So there is not an exchange, a direct exchange of currency. And Kurt goes on to say, so there are a lot of clubs, particularly event centers in the Black community, that operate under one or more of these provisions. Some charge a hefty fee for a setup, which is a selection of mixers that are brought to your table. Or they either allow BYOB or provide an open bar where the alcoholic ingredients can be obtained for free. Now, the place that got in trouble was called Benefactors, and this is where things get interesting. Kurt says, I've never heard of Benefactors, but below is an excerpt from their website. They say they are a BYOB and charge $25 for admission, and the alcohol they have on hand is free. So So here's what benefactors, the so-called speakeasy, says on their website right now. And apparently it was WPXI that in Tribune Review that reported that they'd been essentially raided. Benefactors on 8th writes, "We are not closed and we have never been closed. We know that WPXI and Trib Live and whatever other news outlets have been incorrectly reporting." And this is why I want to share this, because if I've further incorrectly reported, they say incorrectly reporting we've been closed by the Pennsylvania State Police, which can only be referred to as a lie. We have been open. We will continue to be open. The news outlets need to learn to do some research before giving the public so-called news, but they do not because they're lazy and rather just report what others put into a press release and send them without a single drop of due diligence. And it's fake news. We do not appreciate the free promotion. Nonetheless, as all of our amazing customers know, we are not a speakeasy. We are a restaurant and nightclub. We are open every Wednesday through Sunday, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Admission is $25 and it's BYOB, and the alcoholic beverages we carry are free. See you tonight. So that's the rest of that story. Wow. Oh, wow. Jonathan has just sent me this. Jerry Springer has died. And Jonathan writes, he was one of the first in our era to give us a glimpse of the ugly and angry American audience. So some people maybe don't even know he was the mayor of Cincinnati. Jerry Springer, 79 years old. He did. See if there's anything else there. Outside of his famed chair-throwing, tabloid-style TV show, Springer was also known for his political chops. He did run for the Democratic nomination for governor of Ohio. Didn't get anywhere. So there's that. Well, yeah, but so, yeah, he was part of this sort of coarsening of the elevation of coarseness and bad behavior as entertainment. Right? And look where it leads. Donald Trump as president. Oh, this is nice. Nikki Haley is out there saying that it's likely that Joe Biden would die during his second term. Well, yeah. Okay. All right, whatever. Better a dead Biden in the White House than a live Trump or Carlson or Haley, for that matter. I love the fact that Disney has said, "All right, enough. We're sick of this crap," and they're suing DeSantis. And I would think they got a hell of a case. So who pays for that? I mean, I guess so. The state of Florida is going to have to pay for his stunts, his attention-seeking stunts, through a serious trial. I bet he settles. I don't know. Disney is charging that they're the victim of a targeted campaign of government retaliation. Well, that's true. And they say you cannot be punished in this country for speaking your mind, and that that is true of corporations as well. That's true. And the other thing that never made any sense is why would a governor aim at one of the largest employers, the largest, driver of the state's tourism industry, which, the whole thing shows insanity afoot. So I'm happy about that. That's good news. I think I have a caller. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. Ray from Lawrenceville. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Great, thanks. Great. Hey, that speakeasy, it brought back to mind an event I went through. Back in the '80s, I guess I was working on a project at I think it's McCleary School up in the Hill District. We were renovating their mechanical system over the summer, so we were just doing nothing but annoying the custodial staff, and the head of the custodial staff we were always in his way and asking favors. So I said, I can't remember his name. I don't even want to mention it, but I said, we owe you some drinks for this. And he said, how about today? So I said, okay, a big young African American man, I'm like, all right. And I couldn't be more white. So after work, I thought we'll jump in the truck. No. So we walked just down a block. It was a residential area. And he took us into a house, like the front door of a house. And inside, once I walked in, it was a bar. It was,
wow.
And at the moment, I thought, I'm the only white guy ever in this place, right? There was a dozen people there, and we spent an hour and a half or so chatting and talking about it and buying him the drinks he wanted. I couldn't have spent $10, right?
Yeah.
But it occurred to me that neighborhood, those sorts of neighborhoods that are marginalized, don't have access to supermarkets and stores, and so the liquor license, the expense of that, they just sort of go underground. Everything's underground.
But it could be, according to this, that if you have, but they are legal if they're doing it in a certain way. You can circumvent. You can obviously have liquor, but not a liquor license, right? Right,
and but you have to have other licenses, and you're inspected, and they come in and check on you. And I know, like the private clubs, like the AOHs or the VFWs or the Elks, they have a different sort of liquor license, right?
Okay.
But this was no tax, cash only. It was just set up for the community. It was. I walked out of there just shaking my head. I'm like, you don't know what you're walking past, from day to day. But
so it just looked like a regular house. And
it was literally. It was on a row. It was a street with kids and bikes and houses. And I thought I was going into his house before he went to the bar. Walked in, and it was a full bar. A complete bar.
But
and you had to be known to walk in.
Yeah, but the police would know that.
I would imagine. I would imagine. Yeah, but no trouble. There was never any trouble. No. Not like I guess some of the nuisance bars that attract to that kind of thing. I'm sure they don't stay open till 3 a.m. or anything like that. But it was just this odd kind of experience. I thought, well, he showed me a kindness, right? He opened up. His world to me. It was an act of kindness.
Wonderful.
I think, on his part.
Well, that was wonderful.
And I was at the Pirate game last night. I'm a huge Pirate fan. Season tickets. It was wonderful. I know
you are. So wow. So how real is this team? How real are they?
It's magic. It's absolute magic. And all the rule changes that I just, because I'm an old curmudgeon, I hate. I'm beginning to love them. It's speeding the game up. It's allowing for more action. And the Pirates
these changes are smart. They're smart. Yeah,
and I'm so reluctant to admit it, but I'm coming along. I'm coming along. But there's such a feel good story. I hope they emphasize it. But Jason Reynolds went on bereavement, and they brought up a guy who had been languishing in Double A.
Hagee, what's his name? Hagee?
Miggs.
Oh, Miggs. I saw.
Miggy.
Oh, Maggie or whatever. What a sweet story that is. Yeah. So this is a guy he's been in the minors for like his whole
Before,
face. I mean,
14
he's
years.
35 or something. Yeah, right. He's 35.
Yeah, Drew Maggie.
And
I just looked at it. Drew Maggie. Yeah.
Drew Maggie. So they called him up, but he for bereavement leave. So the other guy will be back.
No, he already came back. Reynolds was back, but they kept Maggie up just to let him get one at bat. And it wasn't just feel good. That being at bat qualifies him. If he played the outfield and never batted, it wouldn't start his clock as a major leaguer. That one at bat maybe set him for life. You know, he'll now he qualifies for the pension and all that stuff.
Wow,
that triggers.
And so
yeah.
Well, how wonderful. So
yes,
Sheldon
and
put him in just for. Did he hit? Did he get a hit?
Well, he made contact twice, struck out swinging, I think, but he got standing ovation. His parents were in the stands. It was usually I have no problem bad mouthing the Pirates, but they did him right. They did Reynolds right with the contract. They're playing great ball. If anybody's listening, go to a game. It's fun. You know, you don't have to buy a beer. You don't have to spend any money. You know, drink
the little bit I saw on TV. I watched it on TV last night a little bit. It for a what? That was a Wednesday night, chilly Wednesday night. There was a bigger crowd there than you saw at most of the games last year.
Absolutely. I think they said Friday they had 14,000 walk up or something like that.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, I love it.
And to compound your obsession with obits, Dick Groat died.
Oh no.
Yeah, he just died not long ago. Our shortstop from the '60 World Series and broadcast.
Oh, I knew Dick because he was in media. He ended up doing. Yeah. Oh.
Pitt basketball, right? Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, I just see he hung out a lot at TAE. I just knew him.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
damn.
Yeah. All right, Lynn. Love the show. In spite of our differences, I love the show.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye. Bye. Yeah. Ray and I just had a email exchange in which we were just so diametrically opposed on a certain issue. And it's nice to know that we can have those, major disagreements and still spend time together. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about Dick Groat. Yeah. Well, he was old. Okay, a few other things I got here. I got my absentee ballot, by the way. I know that's what I call them. I got my mail-in ballot, my official election ballot for the upcoming primary. And maybe next week we'll talk about what's on that. Because there's some judicial, so often the case, there's judicial races and you just don't know. So I want to do a little more due diligence. This is a one for county exec. Very important. And I am really torn on that county exec race. I don't know what to do. I'm beside myself because I do not want John Weinstein, whatever the fuck his name is. I do not want him there. And speaking of that, pick up a PGH City paper. You see them lying around, pick this week's up. There is a wonderful, incredible, not kidding story about the Weinstein dynasty, I suspect. And it centers on his father, who essentially owns, he's like the king of Kennedy Township. And that's where the son lives just a few doors down. And the story of how this one man solidified power. And then his son goes into the family business and is about to, even if he wins in this upcoming, achieve higher status than the father. It's a mind-blowing piece, a hell of a piece. And I look it up online if you want it. It centers mostly on the Kennedy Township kingmaker Mel Weinstein, who is aiming to crown his son, John. And it is creepy. I mean, it's creepy. You read things in here that it creeps you out. I'm thinking, what? What? I reacted that way a number of times. And please, there's a quote. My God, is this a quote from, who said this? You're always going to have the naysayers. They killed Jesus. Come on. One of the Weinstein said that. Good God in heaven. There's even billboards up when you drive into Kennedy Township. Jeez, guys, this is so frigging weird. Anyway, I gotta say, he's the one you don't want. You don't want. The scary part is oh God. The next two are, I want to say Connor Lamb, excuse me. What's the Lamb guy? Lamb. And then Sarah Inamarato. And I'm just afraid they're going to split. There's going to be way too many people. Some people are going to figure Sarah can't win. She's just a little too progressive. So they'll go to Lamb, but they don't want Weinstein. Others will say, how is Sarah ever going to get in if we don't support the candidate that we really think should win? And then Weinstein will get in. I'm just scared that it's the Lamb Inamarato voters who don't want Weinstein, but could. Oh God, I'm so scared. I don't know what the right thing to do is, because more than anything else, and I often vote this way, I want to keep him out. Because once he's in, that's it. We'll have him for 3 friggin' terms like we had Rich Fitzgerald. And I don't think that's good. Somebody else who's might be done is Joe Manchin. You know, he's got to run in 24. And the governor of West Virginia, Republican, Jim Justice, he's apparently going to be announcing today that he's going after Manchin. And I think Jim Justice is a very popular governor. And my guess is he'd knock Manchin off in a general election. That's my guess. So one way or the other, I mean, that's a seat the Democrats are probably going to lose. So in terms of hanging on to the Senate, we got to be picking up seats. You know, one of the things we failed to do, and this is on the voters of Wisconsin who have done a lot of good stuff, but they screwed up one biggie. They gave us, they returned the idiotic, stupid, unbelievably, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm blathering because I just can't believe the level of stupidity of this man, Ron Johnson, who is, here's the latest thing I saw about Ron Johnson. See, this was a guy we should have knocked. This seat should have gone back to the Democrats, and the only reason it didn't is the Democrats put up just an excellent candidate, the lieutenant governor. Problem is he was black. I think that's the problem. Anyway, Ron Johnson on climate change. global warming will actually be beneficial. Why wouldn't we take comfort in it? I mean, yeah, it's concerning if you're in, a hot region in Africa, but we're here, we're in good shape. That's Ron Johnson on global warming. That's who's representing the people of Wisconsin. God almighty. Milton sent me this. It is just so unbelievably mind-blowing. While negotiating the state budget last week, Missouri House Republicans voted to defund all of the state's public libraries. What? So that's who the Republicans have in their sights. Books, information. The idea that there are these repositories of information and the arts and entertainment and all this wondrous stuff in the library open and free to the public so that you don't have an idiotic population, because you can't have a true democracy with a bunch of idiots doing the voting. But Republicans like idiots doing voting. They really like idiots voting. Can you imagine voting to defund all of the state's libraries? The public libraries. And I think a similar one already passed the Senate. So this thing is this will go through. Unbelievable. What? Oh, jeez. I don't know. I got nothing to say. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask. So I was, making something the other night. It was having to do with food, and I opened up this one cupboard I have, and there were these two bags that could be classified as lethal weapons at this time. They'd been partially emptied of their contents. About half of the bag was empty, and the rest I had put a rubber band around to, I guess, keep it fresh. I don't think it worked, because when I picked up this bag, it's not a big bag. I mean, a plastic bag with something in it. It was literally hard as a rock, and a sizable hunk. I was thinking, geez, I could take somebody out with this thing. You know what it was? And I want to ask about this. Not that I expect any answers. Brown sugar. What do you? I mean, if there's a recipe that calls for brown sugar, and sometimes, I had two of these rocks. Sometimes the recipe calls for light brown sugar. Other times it calls for dark brown sugar. And so I had two hard as rock, rolled up, much of it still left, but had turned into rocks, not igneous, but essentially sedimentary rock, right? Why do they sell? Is there a way you can? Well, I'm sure there is. Anyway, I don't know. And so once it's in that rock-like state, you just throw it out, I guess. I mean, or you throw it at someone you don't like. I don't know. I was just asking. Because they're taking up space, and damn it, I guess so. The next time I have a recipe calling for brown sugar of any hue, I have to start all over again. These are the little conundrums of life. Anyway, thank you guys. I've enjoyed the week with you, and hope we all can enjoy a weekend. And I'll be back on Monday. Okay? Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live. Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.